The universes are finally starting to come together as each of the representing universes team begins to assemble, as Universe 7 is now led by their new team captain Gohan and stumbling upon a terrifying problem in Majin Buu not being present for the gathering and leaving our heroes desperate for a new solution. What's going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my Dragon Ball Super episode 91 review entitled Which Universe Will Survive? The Strongest Warriors Are Now Gathering, leading into Dragon Ball Super episode number 92 next week, in what sets up for the big reveal of one of the most infamous villains having to join Team Universe 7, in which I cannot personally wait for, and judging based on what we saw in this episode, things are definitely going to be getting interesting once the universes fully gather together. So a quick plug before we begin, in case you guys are not following me at Twitter, be sure to go ahead and head over to UnrealEntGaming on Twitter and hit that follow button. That way you guys are always in the loop with all the latest in Dragon Ball news, information, and content. And don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to the channel in case you guys are new for all the latest in Dragon Ball reviews, discussions, mod battles, and more. Tons of awesome content on the channel. And if you guys want to go ahead and keep up with all the latest content, go ahead and turn on notifications if you guys want to become a Super Saiyan God. It greatly means a lot to me that you guys support the channel, and I thank you guys for tuning into the video. Now, Dragon Ball Super episode 91 definitely sets up the gathering, as now we have everybody essentially come together and assemble for the gathering of the Tournament of Power, with of course Majin Buu having to have troubles in arriving to their destination, that being the gathering. And as we saw in this episode, Universe 7 definitely has a problem as we begin Dragon Ball Super episode 91 exactly where we left off, with us having to dive into the Omni King's palace. And I gotta say, these two are very weird, because we see them play rock paper scissors and they take this mallet and they're trying to smack each other across the head. I don't know, sometimes boredom can really get to you, and I really feel bad for the guards. And as soon as the Daishinkan arrives, we see how the Omni King asks him like what's the status of Universe 7, and we see how Daishinkan opens up his hand and we see the Earth, and we actually see Capsule Corp within the Earth, and we see how Shin is there, he's with Gohan, and they're all putting pictures up of everyone else, and they're all trying to discuss the Tournament of Power. Everyone is there, from Beerus to Whis to Goku, Ten Shinhan, Gohan, and we see how the only person that doesn't seem to be there is in fact Vegeta. And just as that happens, we see how Goku begins to ask Gohan where Vegeta is, and of course, surprise, surprise, Vegeta's actually going in the time chamber. He's gonna go inside the hyperbolic time chamber to train. Now keep in mind, he only has a few hours to go, so we understand that at this point Vegeta vows to surpass Goku, and what's pretty cool is once he enters the time chamber, he becomes a Super Saiyan Blue, which I personally thought that was very cool, because Vegeta vowed to surpass Goku, and as soon as he walked in, he became a Super Saiyan Blue. So that was really cool to see. But nevertheless, we go back to Capsule Corp and we see how everyone is beginning to talk, and just as that's being said, we see how Daishinkan is observing everyone being at Capsule Corp discussing things, and Elder Kai actually says that maybe if he does the whole funky chicken dance, very similar to how he unlocked Gohan's power, maybe sadly enough he can go ahead and do that to everybody else, but they don't have time. So it was proposed, but it was what it was for the time being. Now we saw Universe 9, and we get to understand, at least based on this episode, as to why they have such a messed up universe. Now we see how Ro is there, and there's like this planet being like destroyed, there's like this massive war going on, this one dude with an eye patch is like shooting people, and we see Bergamo, Lavender, and Basil standing on top of this building, and of course the brotherly trio having to be very dangerous in their own right. We see how Universe 9 still hasn't gotten anyone else to recruit onto their team. Cedra's with them alongside their present Angel, but what was very cool about this was finally we see something from Cedra, and he destroys an entire city effortlessly. So no matter how many times you want to crap on the guy for being, you know, undecisive or just being, you know, a bit too emotional, he actually got the job done in erasing all of these poachers and all these people from like shooting each other and stuff. And all of this is happening in the Daishinkan's hand. He's showing the Omni Kings what's going on in Universe 7, with Goku having to gather up all the fighters, in Universe number 9 with Cedra having to destroy everyone. I feel bad for Universe number 9 because they still don't have a legitimate team. But even with that, we see finally at long last that Frost is sitting down next to the curb, and he grovels. He's beginning to grovel as someone is approaching through the alleyway, and it's our boy Hit. And this is the first time we've seen Hit, keep in mind, in this entire universe survival arc. But you know, we see how Frost is trying to evade the police because there's, you know, cop cars out there. So he's trying to avoid himself from the police, but also he notices that Hit is there, and Hit says to Frost, long time no see, and Frost doesn't seem too happy about this. So as we see, he approaches him and he begins to get on his knees and he begins to beg, and in which also he's trying to call his bluff, because while Frost is trying to grovel to Hit and not destroying him, because for some reason it looks like Frost is being wanted. He is a fugitive here. Of course, he was the one that was exposed for trying to rig wars and all sorts of stuff. We see how Frost begins to grovel and he's talking to Hit, and this whole time he's shooting needles at Hit, which I find to be funny because he's trying to attack Hit. He's using his tail. He's desperately trying to attack this dude. Little does Frost know that Hit is actually there for a different reason, and Frost acknowledges that he has absolutely no choice in trying to attack him or even any effect on him. But then we see Hit say, "Come with me. If you refuse, I will kill you on the spot." And I love this so much, and Hit is one of my favorites. Out of the entirety of Dragon Ball Super, it's definitely Goku Black, but Hit was one of those dudes where he takes no BS from anybody, but he told Frost, "If you don't come with me right now, I am going to kill you." So what I'm guessing is happening here is the fact that Hit is the representing leader of Universe number 6. That's why he told Frost to come with him, in which Hit tells Frost that he in fact has improved to the point where it actually forced Hit to take him serious just a little bit. So this entire time, Frost has improved, and that's when Hit tells Frost about the tournament, which I cannot wait for, because you have to ask yourself as to what Frost has been doing this entire time that even made Hit go serious just a little bit for that time being. And despite what you want to say, either or, it works in Frost's favor. So we come back and we see Yamcha. He's laying down. I feel so bad for Yamcha, and I hate to crap on Tenshinhan, but Tien hasn't done anything to really prove his worth here. I mean, so far, based on 2 episodes, we see him do nothing but, as creepy as Roshi is, Roshi repels down the window. He's knocking on Yamcha's window, and he's asking him to come with him. And we see that Roshi's plan is to help conquer, you know, one's weaknesses and, you know, preventing such from happening. So we see how Yamcha thinks that this is, you know, a lost cause because they're having an exchange, and Yamcha assumes that Roshi is there to invite him to the tournament, but Roshi wants Puar to transform into a hot babe, which again, I think wasn't really needed. Although, yeah, there were some, you know, laughs during this whole thing. I would have personally have loved to see something else involving someone else, because we already know that Yamcha is not going to be a part of this tournament, so what's the point of even doing this to begin with? But unfortunately enough, it happens, and we see how Puar does what Roshi wants, and, you know, as that happens, she throws him into the window. This is, like, the weirdest thing, because as soon as, you know, Puar transforms into, like, this really hot girl, we see Roshi and, you know, this quote-unquote hot girl during this little cabin, and this entire cabin is just going all over the place, is going bonkers. It looks like you're doing stuff, they're doing the nasty, but we see Roshi get kicked out. He's running back in there, and not knowing the fact that, yes, this is Puar, so Perv Roshi being Perv Roshi, I have to admit it was funny, but I don't think for the time being it was definitely needed, because I would much rather have seen something else happen involving other fighters train or conquer or just get together, rather than having at least a few minutes spent on that, because we already know that he's not going to be a part of the tournament. But we get to see Whis and Super Saiyan Blue Goku battle inside one of the Capsule Corp gravity rooms, and let me tell you something, this was one of the most awesome things I've seen, because despite how strong Goku is, I don't care what you guys say, despite how strong Goku is, or appears to be, he still isn't on Whis' level, because as much as Goku tries, Whis is just countering him left and right, and he even bites Whis for a bit, because once Whis dodges him and gets him like in a chokehold, we see how Goku bites him, and then Goku goes full out, you know, and obviously there's lots of gravity in the room as well, so Goku unleashes more of his power and begins to fight. So Goku's training with Whis to get more, you know, memories of his pre-training with Popo and stuff, so there's a lot of things happening with Goku that I personally enjoyed. And then we see Dispo and Topo eating grapes. I mean, they're very calm during this whole thing, but we see how they're waiting for, you know, one of their other teammates to come on by, you know, reassuring everyone that everyone has to get together. And Topo has like this watch. Yes, he looks very sharp, mind you, but for the way he's portrayed as a character, it just looks a little funny. But we see one of his team members actually trying to, you know, get this cat or whatever. It's just really wacky. I mean, each universe is doing something very different, which I I loved about this episode, because as everything is happening, this is all happening within the Daishinkan's hands, because he's showing the Omni Kings about everything, and he explains about universe number 11 and saying that Toppo and his friends are not only strong, but they're great people too, because they're helping out other people, they're trying to, you know, save cats and stuff. So they're great people on the inside is what they are. Even though they represent truth and justice, they are what they are for the time being. And then we pan it over and see this lovely girl with green hair. We've seen her before, right? So we were wondering as to who she was, and we see her talking outside, and then we see like this pink lady show up for the tournament as well, another girl, and this girl actually just so happens to be, ironically enough, one of the people that we see fighting Vegeta in the Dragon Ball Super intro, which again I find to be very funny, because this beautiful girl transforms into this giant pudgy-like Teletubby. So maybe these females are going to be transforming into these giant Teletubby-like warriors, because this is the exact one that we've seen fight Vegeta, Super Saiyan Vegeta, in the intro. So at least we have confirmation of that, because now we know that where she comes from, she actually has a transformation and becoming a beauty. So she goes from being a beauty into like this giant hideous monster-like character. But either way, we all assumed that she was like this Majin-like character, which doesn't seem to be the case at all. But even with all that being said, we pan back to universe number 10, and it's just, I feel so bad for universe number 10, because Gowasu is, you know, recording on his camcorder one of the angels having to dance around with all the protein shake, you know, bodybuilders and stuff. This was a really funny episode. It was very lighthearted, and you can tell based on the way Gowasu is filming all of this that he is just very pissed. And just as he's recording, the Omni Kings have their hands up in the air and they're moving around and shucking and jiving and stuff. Again, I really feel bad for universe number 10, and judging based on the way the little angel was like shaking her arms like shake weights and stuff, it was just really tacky for the moment being. But towards the end of the episode, we also get to see Goku. He has a towel around his neck. You know, he's concluded his training. He feels very confident either way. We see Piccolo standing on top meditating, and Gohan believes that the ring should have like a centerpiece. I mean, obviously enough, he's the team leader, so he's getting all technical here. He's trying to figure out ring outs and stuff. And at the very end, we see how Goku decides to go and try to wake up Mr. Satan and Majin Buu, and we get to see Bala. She's sleeping and stuff. So overall, guys, it was an enjoyable episode. I mean, I'm not gonna criticize it too much, other than, you know, having to see Roshi with the female and stuff. I mean, there were certain things that I think just didn't belong, like Gowasu having to record the fighters like jump around and work out. Like, that was kind of tacky if you asked me. But overall, the episode was very solid. I truly enjoyed that, even to the point where at the very end, when Bulma, you know, gives Goku and tells Goku and everyone else about Boo, and, you know, that he fell asleep, so they're gonna try to wake him up. But that's gonna lead, obviously enough, into one of the biggest reveals, that being Frieza having to make his grand return. And it's funny the way Bulma actually mentioned to Goku that Boo fell asleep, because Goku's like, what? Like, we have to go wake him up now. So obviously, guys, let me know what you guys think, because to me, for what it was worth, it was a really good episode. It wasn't the best Dragon Ball Super episode ever, and seeing Beerus's reaction was pretty cool. You know, Elder Kai having to sleep on the couch and stuff. But overall, to me, I definitely enjoyed it. But post your comments down below. What are your overall thoughts on this episode? Did you guys enjoy this episode? Did you guys think that last week's episode between Gohan and Goku was a lot better? And what are your overall thoughts on the upcoming episodes, especially for those who do know about the spoilers involving Lord Frieza? Thank you all for watching, guys. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, be sure to go on ahead and subscribe, as I cover Dragon Ball news, information, and updates. If you guys enjoyed the review, be sure to go on ahead and slap a like down below if you guys love Dragon Ball. Tune in for my breakdown and prediction video. This was, for what it was worth, a pretty entertaining episode. It wasn't as action-packed and as good, I think, as the previous episode shown last week, but either way, it still sets up for massive development for Universe 7 alongside the other universes that we saw in this episode. Post your comments down below, guys, as to what you thought. Thank you all for watching once again. Tune in for the breakdown review, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great night, guys. Peace.